back to the fourth and final part of my very first Releather video. And in this video, we're going to finish off the strap finally. First thing we're going to do is put some oil on it. Now the oil that I have is the Neat's Foot oil by Bickmore. It's 100% pure, softens, lubricates, moisturizes, easy to use, darkens most leather. So apparently putting oil on the strap before dyeing the leather, it helps moisturize the leather. So the leather does get dry from all the watering that you put on this leather strap. So like when you do the stamping, the tooling, all throughout the strap, the water kind of dries up the leather a little bit, so it's not quite as flexible. So you put some oil on it to make it more flexible and to hydrate the leather a little bit. And then you start your dyeing. You can obviously wait for the oil to dry, or you can leave it overnight. And then you do your dye, all coats, and then you oil it again after all the coats of dye have been applied. Oil it again, and then you finally put on your super sheen finish, leather finish. And I believe you can get all of these on Amazon. I will leave the links in my description, or on Tandy Leather. Then after finishing the strap, you can use this sweet ass horsehair brush to make it nice and pretty and shine it up really nice. Turn it sideways, you know the deal. All right, so let's go ahead and put the oil on. And if you have an extra paintbrush lying around in the house, you can use a paintbrush, or you can buy, I think this is like 100 pack of these little guys here, 50 pack, something like that. And then you can just apply the oil that way. So that's what I'm going to do. Obviously this is going to take a little bit longer because I'm using this teeny tiny brush. Let's go ahead and get to it. There you go, we got the sexy bitch oiled up, nice and dark, looking good. So now I'm gonna wait and let this sit and dry for maybe an hour or a couple hours, or I might just let it dry overnight because it's already 5:30. So we'll see how long it takes to dry and how much time I have tonight. And one thing I forgot to do was I forgot to punch out the holes for the nameplate. So I will have to do that after it finishes drying, and then we will be ready to finally put our first coat of dye on. So I allowed the oil to dry overnight, and finally it is dry, even though it still looks wet. That's just how it looks after oiling. What I'm gonna do now is dye. I'm gonna dye the outside of the back of the strap around the border. So that way when I put the backing on here, it kind of blends in. So I'm gonna dye the border of the back first, let it dry, and then we will do the first coat on the front. The back border is nice and dry. Now we'll go ahead and do the first coat on the front of this strap. All right, the first coat of paint is complete, And there it is, nice and dry. I let it dry for a little over an hour, and not too bad. So now we're gonna go ahead and put on the second coat. Okay, so after applying 3 coats of dye, this is the finished product right here. So 3 coats of dye, looks really good, nice and dark. And one thing to notice, once you apply the dye, you will notice the discrepancies in the leather. As you can see, there's a big line right here. So that's just a blemish on this particular leather cut. But it's not that big of a deal. It's not like indented or anything. You can't feel it. And luckily the plate will be covering that blemish there. But it does suck because you can definitely see it there. But hopefully after I put on one more coat of oil, and then I'm going to burnish the edges again to make them nice and smooth. And then I'm going to put the finisher on to make it nice and shiny. And then we'll brush it with a horsehair brush. Hopefully after doing all of that, it will help this blemish go away and, you know, just fade into the strap. So after a couple days stuck in limbo, my burnishing gum is finally here. Toco Pro burnishing gum. So now I can go ahead and burnish the border or the outside of the strap, and then we can finally add the finisher coat to this strap. So let's go ahead and start burnishing. So here, I'm just going to apply some of this burnishing gum to the inside of this burnisher here. Not sure if this is the correct way to do it or not. Or maybe I should just put it on the strap and then burnish it that way. I think I'll do that instead. Maybe. I know some of you leather guys might be cringing at what I'm doing, but I have no clue what I'm doing. So, alright, so there's the burnishing gum, and now to burnish. There we go. And this should hopefully make the edges of the leather very smooth. I guess I'll just have to wipe off whatever excess burnishing gum is left. Alright, so I finished burnishing, and you can see, let me see if the camera will catch it, maybe not, but the edges are much smoother now. So that burnishing gum definitely helped a lot. Shout out to Kevin O'Keefe again. He is the one that put me onto that burnishing gum. Before I was just using warm water and the burnisher, and that helped a little bit, but it is a world of difference with this burnishing gum. I highly suggest using this when you burnish your belts. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the leather finish on finally. Super sheen, should make it look nice and shiny. And the instructions say to use a sponge, but unfortunately I don't have a sponge, so I'm just going to use one of these little cotton balls here. So let's go ahead and put this finisher on. So yeah, don't use these cotton ball sticks for the super sheen. Don't do it. It's gonna leave streaks all over the strap. Not a good idea. Instead, get a sponge and just kind of dampen the sponge with the super sheen, and go over it in broad strokes, very large strokes. I put 3 coats of super sheen on here, and now you can see how shiny it is. Looks really nice and dark. looks a whole lot better. Just for a comparison, let me show you guys the Jcfigz strap. So check out the difference in the darkness here. So this is the Jcfigz strap and this is my strap. So you can see the darkness and the shininess is much better on mine. Pretty cool. Super Sheen works great. And now what I'm going to do is the snap box. We're going to do the male snap box. Because when I put the backing on, it's okay if the male snap box is covered on the back. And we're going to leave the female snap box uncovered, and then I'm also going to put the plates on as well. So here, I got these snaps from Tandy Leather. These are size or line 24 snaps. And then I also got the tool or tools to put the stamps through the holes. So this is what you need to put the stamps on. You gotta hammer it. So I'm gonna get all this stuff together, and then we're actually gonna move back to the other table with the big piece of stone. All right, back at the smashing table. This is how we do the snaps. For the male snaps, you put one of these backings through the hole here, like so. If I can get it, bear with me. I did make these holes a little too small, I think, because they are a bit of a pain to get through here. If you remember, I used the size 3 hole puncher. I probably shouldn't use the size 4 because this is very, very tight. Anyway, you put one through the back there. I'll just do the one that I already have. Put one through the back there, and then you put the top part on for the male snap, and then you can see that the back part goes through the top part. Then you use this tool that I showed you earlier, and you put it on here. Then you just smash it in to lock it in place. And then there you go, then your snaps are on. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrestle with this snap box with all these snaps, and I'll show you guys the end result in a second. Okay, so here we go. The snap box is finished. We got all the male snaps on. And so what I ended up doing to make it easier to get the snaps in was I just put a pen through the hole, wiggled it around to make the hole a little bit bigger, and then the snaps fit right in, no problem. Now they're nice and tight. There's no way these things are going anywhere. Looks really good. I think it came out pretty decent for my first re-leather. So now we're gonna go ahead and put on the plates to get an idea of what this belt is gonna look like at the end. All right, so the plates are on now, and we're getting close to the finish line. Looks pretty good on the black leather strap. And actually what I ended up having to do was get some washers. And I had to put washers behind the plates because these screws were actually really loose, and you can hear it like clanking against the plate. So I had to put some gold washers or brass washers behind the plate to get it really tight, and so that way they weren't moving at all. So I think the problem that caused that issue is I think this leather might be too thin. So what somebody suggested to me was a 7 to 9 ounce double shoulder veg tan leather. And I got that, but it was the economy version, so it was cheap. I think it was like 50 bucks for the double shoulder veg tan economy leather. And it looks pretty thin, as you can see there. It's just a little bit thicker than the 2mm strap, or the 2mm plates rather. So, but it's good enough for this belt because the plates are so thin. This strap will handle the plates just fine. But because of it being so thin, that's why I had to add some washers behind the plates. So now what I'm gonna do is flip this around, and we're gonna start working on the backing. And what we're gonna use is this leather weld, EcoFlow leather weld and leather adhesive. All right, so let's get to it. I have the backing set on the back of the strap now, as you can see the outline. And what I'm gonna do is put the glue on, like I mentioned before, the leather weld, and I'm gonna do it in sections. I saw another video where the guy like started in the center plate, then like half the center plate, and then he moved down this way. But what I might do is start here and then move down towards the end. Not sure if that's the right way to do it, but that's what I'm gonna try. So give me just a couple minutes and then I will show you the end result. Actually, I lied. I am gonna start from the center plate and I'm gonna move my way down the right side, and then the left side of the center plate and move my way down to the left. Also, I wanted to mention I put a blanket underneath the belt, so that way, you know, the plates don't get scratched or anything. And then this part of this is probably gonna end up being stuck to the blanket, but it should pull off without a problem. And you wanna let this dry for at least a couple hours. A lot of guys let it dry overnight, but it is only 9 a.m. right now. So I'll probably let it dry until later this afternoon or this evening. Then I'll try and cut it off, cut the excess off. But first, let's go ahead and glue this thing down. What I'm doing here is gluing the outside first, and then, you know, just filling the center in with more glue. All right, so now the strap is completely glued down, and what I'm gonna do is put some weight on top of it just to press the backing against the strap, so that way it really sticks. So those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you guys know that I'm a huge wrestling toy collector as well as belt collector. So obviously I have a ton of wrestling figures just in totes. So I just put a couple of totes on top of the strap or the backing in order to weigh it down, so that way the glue sticks better to the strap. So hopefully this works, and we'll check back in a couple of hours, and hopefully, you know, the backing sticks. All right, so I just took all of the tote boxes off of this belt. Now I'm gonna flip this thing over and pray that this backing stuck on here rather well. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. Let's go ahead and flip this bad boy over and see how well it stuck. So it is a tiny bit stuck to the blanket, but not like anything crazy. It comes off really easy, actually. So here we go, got it flipped over. And so now what I'm going to do is use an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to cut around the outside of the backing to get all the excess off. Go all the way around. Obviously, I'm going to remove the blanket from underneath and just cut on top of the cutting board. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I just got the backing off, and honestly, it was a pain in the freaking ass taking that backing off with an X-Acto knife. But whatever. It's not the prettiest, and there's a lot of, you know, it's cut for the excess backing. It just looks like a mess on the outside, but that's why we're gonna have to burnish it at the end. But let's flip it over and see how it looks. Okay, there it is. There's the backing. Looks pretty decent. Yeah, not bad at all. There might be a couple spots where I need to add some glue, like on the end here. I might need to add some glue down here. Maybe, because as you can see, this not completely on right there. So I might need to add some glue on certain parts of this backing. You see right here how it's coming off. So I'm gonna have to just add a little bit of glue there. But overall, it came out pretty nice, I think. So I'm gonna add some more glue in areas that need it. And then I need to re-punch these holes over here for the female snaps. because we put the backing on, so now I got to re-punch the holes to go through the backing, and the snaps are just going to go right through the backing. So got to do that, and then after I re-punch these holes, put the snaps on, then it's time for burnishing. So I'm almost finished with the female snaps, and I just wanted to show you guys exactly what I'm doing here. So what I do for the holes is I'll use a lead pencil and put it through the hole here just to give it some more space because these holes are very tight. So I make a little bit of extra room. Then I put the smooth part of the snap in first. Then I have to kind of push it down, push the backing down to make sure that the screw goes all the way through the strap. And then I use this little tool here to go underneath the smooth side so that way it doesn't get dented when hammering. So I'll put that underneath the smooth part of the snap. And then I will put on the female part here. Then I use this tool to place it in there, and then I hammer it. Hammer it very hard, and then they will get stuck and they won't come off. So that is what I'm doing for the female snaps. Okay, my friends, the female snaps are done. So that is pretty much, almost the final step. Now all we have to do is burnish the outside, which is going to take a very long time from what I hear. But for the most part, this belt is complete. Got the female snaps on, the male snaps, plates, backing. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna burnish the living shit out of this thing and make sure there's no loose spots on the backing again. Then I will showcase this entire strap. That's it. I finally finished my very first re-leather, and I will be making another video talking about the tools I got, the materials, how much everything cost, the time it took, everything like that, the experience I had, and all the mistakes I made. I'm going to cover that as well, and what I would do differently, or what I'm going to do differently next time. So make sure you hit the bell to get notified when I post a new video, and I will be taking a lot more belt review videos as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time.